Welcome to Module 22, the last module of our Intermediate Accounting 2 course. Holy mackerel, you've made it. I like this module. Changes and corrections. So company wants to change an accounting policy. They want to change an accounting estimate. How do we do it? We're going to learn that this chapter. And also, company screws something up. They make an error. How do we correct our errors? And it's particularly tricky when it was an error from a couple of years ago. So we're going to learn how to do that this module. Let's discuss the types of changes we should expect to see this chapter. The first is a change in estimate. You bought a car. You said it's going to be useful for 10 years. You've driven it a couple of years ago. This is not going to make it 10 years. It's only going to make it 6 years. How do you do that in accounting terms? It was a $100,000 asset divided by 10. It was $10,000 a year. You've depreciated a couple of years. What do you do now? Well, with a change in estimate like that, you change it prospectively. You say, where are we today? Okay, it's only 6 years from now, or whatever number it is. You sort of take it up to today and go, the past is the past. We made our best guess. We were wrong. Going forward, we're going to do it this way, and it's called a prospective change. So changes in estimate are done prospectively, and those are easier than the alternatives, which are, well, for changes in principle, US GAAP calls it principle, Canadian GAAP IFRS calls it a change in policy. Those are done retrospectively, and let me give you an example. So let's say it was my policy to use FIFO, first in, first out, for inventory, and I switched to weighted average. That's a choice I'm making. Now, that's not an estimate, right? Those numbers are calculated and true numbers, but they just produce different results. If I want to voluntarily change my policy, I would say, I think actually this inventory is better tracked by weighted average than by FIFO. I want to switch from FIFO to weighted average. I have to do it retrospectively, which means I adjust my previous records. I adjust my opening retained earning balance. And it's a more major undertaking than just saying prospectively, from now on, we're going to do it this way. Retrospectively means I got to go back in time and track my inventory records as if I had been doing weighted average all along, or whatever the principle or policy change was. And you'll see as we do it this chapter, it's harder. Those are the big two. The third one is a US GAAP only concept, and it's unusual, even in US GAAP context. It's a very unusual situation. It's called a change in reporting entity, and it says we have an investment in another company, we've been reporting it one way, and we're switching to consolidation now. If that's the case, we do it retrospectively, but the reason it's a little weird is it's not like, hey, we bought a bunch more shares in the company and we're going from equity method to consolidation method, which is very normal. You would do that prospectively. It's something else. It's like there's a group of companies, and within that group of companies, we're changing the reporting of two of the, subsidiary companies to be consolidated with each other. It's a little bit more convoluted. Most chapters don't actually do anything with this other than to tell you it exists. So I'm telling you it exists. We tackle it a little bit in the first problem of the chapter, but very little. It just means we're switching to consolidation under weird circumstances, and when we do it retrospectively. Again, US GAAP concept only. But those are the three types of changes, and I think what you're going to find is the retrospective changes are the tougher ones. The prospective changes, pretty straightforward. So that's the first half of the chapter. The second half of the chapter, as the name suggests, corrections. And what would you want to correct? Errors. Now, correcting errors is actually trivially easy. If you figure out what the error is, you just fix it. You reverse the bad journal entry, you make the right journal entry, you're done. What makes it hard this chapter is it's not the errors that happened this year that we're particularly worried about. You just fix the bad journal entry. It's the errors from last year or the year before or the year before that, where we've already done everything. We've issued our financial statements. We've closed the books on that year. And I got to go back and fix something back then. That's a little bit trickier. And you'll find we use the retained earnings account a lot. There's some expense that was overstated or understated in the past, and you go, well, I can't fix the expense because that expense is closed from several years ago. I can't fix a 3 years ago expense. But what would happen is the expense would flow through to the balance sheet through retained earnings, and what I have to do is fix my retained earnings. Now, this chapter, we're going to learn two types of prior period errors we're going to come across. The first, probably probably the more common is a counterbalancing error. And a counterbalancing error is one that fixes itself the next year. And you might think, oh, that's good. It fixes itself. I don't have to do anything. No, it means there's two errors. There's one error last year. And then this year, when it fixes itself, it throws this year's numbers off. So we still have to do some fixing. An example here might be, I forgot to accrue the salary expense, right? So last year I didn't accrue the salary expense, debit salary expense, credit salaries payable. And so this year when I pay the first salary, I debit salary expense, credit cash, but in reality, I should have debited salaries payable because, it was last year's salary. So I screwed up last year's salary expense by not having enough, and I screwed up this year's salary expense by having too much because the first pay period involved some of last year's salary. And so the double screw up works against each other and ends up a year from now, it's totally fine. But it's not fine in the here and now, and we're going to learn how to correct those types of prior period errors, the ones that work themselves out. Non-counterbalancing errors are ones that don't work out from one year to the next. An example would be I called something a repair expense, but I should have called it an asset. It changed the life of the asset, determining whether it was a capital expenditure or not. I called it a repair, but it was actually I should have debited the asset. Well, if that's the case, the asset maybe lives for 10 years, this error is going to be working itself out over the next 10 years. It doesn't just flip the next year. So that's a non-counterbalancing error. Now, both counterbalancing and non-counterbalancing errors are fixed retrospectively. So it means we have to go back in time, go back through our old records and put the records in place as if we had never made the mistake. Similar to if we switch from FIFO to weighted average, I have to go back in my old records and say, well, what would these old records look like had I been doing weighted average all along? Fixing errors is, what would my last year's financial statements look like had I not made the mistake? And so we'll learn how to deal with that. And as I suggested, retained earnings is a regularly debited and credited account this chapter. As I always say, the best way to learn anything is to work through practice problems. And I've got tons of them. I can't wait to get started, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. The next video in our series is right up here, and if you want a supercut of all of the videos in this series, that's the one down below.